Hello, my dear gardening friends. People who live in the colder areas than I am, they're probably looking through the window at the snow right now. It is the middle of January, and people in the warmer climates are ready to trim their roses. Well, I'm not there yet. I am in the garden and I'm not looking at snow. Actually, this season can be the first season when we probably won't have snow, which is fine with me. My kids are against it. Today in this video we are going to talk about those late winter mistakes which our eager, enthusiastic beginner gardeners can make in their gardens. And I'm going to not only talk about mistakes but also solutions which can be done to either fix mistakes or not to make those mistakes to begin with. So the first mistake we are going to talk about is, and I see it very often, especially with a very enthusiastic beginner gardeners. They want to come into the garden and start cleaning up, open their perennials, open their shrubs. By opening, I mean they try to clean up all the debris, refresh it, and unintentionally they remove that protective layer of leaves from the ground or whatever fell, the sticks and twigs. And that's a very natural way of the nature to protect plants' roots. And if the beginner gardener removes that protection, they might unintentionally damage their plants in the garden because suddenly that protection is gone. And if cold weather comes, we are in trouble. And I do understand that the different gardeners who love their gardens, they keep their gardens in a different garden styles. I myself fall somewhat in the probably in the group of gardeners who are neat and like their gardens neat. I understand there are people who love the gardens to be self-reseeding, full of all sorts of colors, shapes, and full of exuberance. Cottage type of gardens where everything grows without restraint and fight with neighboring plants for survival and space. I don't follow that garden style. I do like my garden on a neater side. And how I fix that problem of having a neat garden through the winter, I do clean before the winter, but then I put a layer of protective natural, either not shredded leaves. I don't want to do shredded leaves on open soil because the leaves can be moved by wind. But I do cover, either use compost or shredded bark, and I do cover the root system of tender perennials and shrubs which I need to protect in winter. This way it's not messy. My plants are still protected, and in spring, especially if it is compost, the worms will do their job and they will bring all that compost into the soil, and I don't need to remove it. Spring comes. Here is a good example of my protected shrubs. Here we have a row of winter jam boxwoods. It's mini boxwoods which are growing here for, I would say, several years already. And these boxwoods, what I do for them, I throw a layer of compost each fall to protect their shallow root system. And one year when I didn't do it at the beginning, they were struggling. Somebody, thanks to you, one of the YouTuber who watches my videos, advised me to protect their root system for the winter. I did it, and these plants are doing fine. I can't say that they're thriving. There might be another issue here, but at least they're not failing here in this spot. So it does look neat. I removed all the debris, and at the same time I put a layer of compost. So opening perennials too early and cleaning up your garden too early is obviously the big mistake. We want to wait till spring really settles in our gardens, and then we can do all the beautiful stuff. Mistake number 2, which a lot of gardeners do, including me. One year I forgot it. I didn't drain my hose system, my 2 hoses which I have around my house. And for people who do have automatic watering systems, that's a totally different story. But do drain your hoses and do move them into the house, into the garage, because hoses can be damaged by water, and then you will have your hose for another year maybe, and then you have to buy it again. So basically it's a waste of time. Water does damage to our containers too. For example, here on my back porch, I keep containers. Come, I will show you. Here I keep containers only which can withstand the expansion of soil when it freezes, and they are plastic, but all other terracotta and porcelain pots I move inside of the garage. I get all the soil out and I move them in, or what I do, I clean them, turn them around upside down and keep them outside. This way water is not standing there and not cracking those pots. So that's another thing which some gardeners do forget. They go into winter and they leave pots outside, and then oops, usually it happens at the end of winter when the temperature goes between minus and plus. I'm talking Celsius, European way. And that temperature really cracks those pots. So draining everything, not letting water ruin your precious equipment in the garden. Some beginner gardeners are so enthusiastic that they're thinking, oh my gosh, do I need to fertilize? Do I need to water my garden? And we would definitely say no to the first one, and maybe to the second one, watering. And why is that? Usually fertilization is not needed. It's a waste of resources, a waste of your money, and it can actually hurt your plant in winter. So the processes inside the tissues of our plants in winter is coming to a halt. The growth is almost non-existent. Plant is barely there. So there is a waste of fertilizer. If you put it into the soil, plant is not going to take it. But watering is a different story. Some evergreen plants in our garden do rely on water to keep all that green mass alive, especially especially in my garden. What is sensitive to it is arborvitaes. So if you see that arborvitaes are getting really dry and the temperature, especially wind, is strong in the garden, do go out and give them a nice long watering. This way the root system would have water to support all that green mass on top. So yes to watering, but you have to know when to water it. Don't water it in freezing conditions where water will be just sitting there on top of the soil and suffocate the roots of the plant. Water it when the temperature is warmish, dry and warmish, and you know that your plants do need water. By the way, I see little mushrooms here coming up. Don't be afraid if there are mushrooms in your garden showing on the lawn. It's a sign of a good, healthy garden. And I would say for the last maybe 3-4 years, I started to noticing mushrooms here and there popping up. They really don't do any damage to your garden, so you can just step on them and they will be gone. But it's a very good sign of a healthy garden. You know what? Soil in nature is usually well protected, and it's not in natural environment you rarely see open soil. And open soil is not really good in winter. It can bring to erosion, and your neighbor might get, with a strong wind, your neighbor might get all that beautiful topsoil you were working hard in your garden for years. But there is a place in your garden where you don't need leaves, and it is in your beautiful lawn. If it would be up to me, my lawn in the backyard would be gone, but my kids love to play soccer, so lawn is here to stay. So as a result, I'm keeping my lawn well uncovered from leaves. We do have this big maple tree here, and it brings a lot of leaves here. But why not leaves on the lawn for the beginner gardener? Because leaves suffocate the soil, the grass, and then in spring you're going to have these wide, empty spots on your lawn with no grass underneath. So keep that in mind. Keep your lawn very clean of leaves through the winter. Oh, here comes the dogs. Some rosarians tell me that they clean the leaves on roses very well. They take everything down in the fall. And as for me, I don't do it in my garden. I let roses decide when they want to drop their leaves. And some roses do drop their leaves very early, and some are keeping them stubbornly till the end of winter. And only then I go in and I do a nice haircut. I clean everything here during the major spring trimming. I clean everything on the floor, and that's how I deal with all foliage. Definitely I don't keep that foliage through spring going into new fresh foliage, but I don't do any cleaning in the fall, like a good strong cleaning, taking all the leaves down. I leave it to the plant to decide, and I strongly believe that our plants know better, and they decide when they want to do that. Again, I am very selective in the garden where I remove leaves and where I keep leaves. I remove everything, all debris from underneath my rose crowns, because I don't want any diseases to overwinter here, and I make sure that I throw all the leaves out into the garbage. Some people do have holes in the ground where they compost all those leaves, and all those spores don't have time to escape, but they do it for some time, for a long time. For me, my garden is not as big. I don't have the space for that. So all the diseased stuff is going out into the town collection trucks, and all the good stuff, all the leaves from trees are going into my compost piles. But here, the area under the rose bushes, it is a good thing to keep it nice and clean and to collect all those leaves. My poor house fell. Oh well, what can you do? I have to fix it now. Somebody knocked it out. All right, I will fix it. But the last thing I wanted to tell you is beginner gardeners might think that, okay, garden went to sleep and weeds went to sleep. That's not true. Weeds are happily growing, even if it's a very cold condition. They are still in strengthening their root system, and they come in spring to hunt you with vengeance. So, beginner gardeners, do go weeding in the middle of winter. For example, here, look at this. This is a little colony of happy weeds here, thriving on the morning sun here. So, I'm going to weed it out, and I will come into the house and enjoy the warmth of the house, but these weeds has to be gone. Okay, my dear gardeners, especially the beginner gardeners who are looking for questions and they cannot find the answers, please do ask me under this video. You know, sometimes where I'm learning something new and I'm trying to find an answer to a very simple question, I ask somebody who knows, and their response is, oh my gosh, we didn't even realize that such question can exist. It's such a basic thing for them. So if you're looking all over the internet, ask me here and I will do my best to answer. Enjoy your gardens, happy gardening, and I will see you next time.